What's up, guys? Sub-Zero here, back for not another VOD review. Today we are doing a patch overview video for patch 17.6 because this patch is going to drop on Wednesday, and this is hugely consequential. This is a patch that regional is going to be played on. A lot of impactful changes here, not like the biggest changes in the world at this point in the set. Where, not like completely shifting, taking one comp from, broken to like absolutely trash, but these are still changes that are going to be really impactful on the meta. Definitely at this point, like small changes can shift things a lot. So let's get into it here. I like that they do this patch goals thing. So they say fix narrow augments and outliers, and then fine tuning buffs. So, once again, nothing like completely just blow up a comp or make a comp broken, but just slight little changes, which I think is absolutely necessary. All right, 6 Anima Squad. I don't care too much about this one because you're basically never playing this, but they are buffing up some of the rewards, which is nice. Also more likely to hit components and emblems, which is good. I mean, I think they acknowledge that this is just kind of like a failed trait idea. It's like, it's weird that 6 Anima exists in the game. It's like 7 Crystal Gambit. If 7 Crystal Gambit didn't give you the combat strength from 7 Crystal Gambit, I don't know why they didn't just tack some, combat strength onto this, but in any case, it doesn't really matter. You're not seeing this very often. Also, let me move my head here so I'm not covering up too much stuff. All right, Arbiter here rerolled last turn, getting buffed up. I think this one is honestly like when you can proc it pretty good, and they didn't actually buff like the Leona printers or anything like that, which I think was the one that was actually pretty good with this. So I think this is still fine. Only really excited to take this if you have like a Priz ticket, a trade sector, something like that. But in those case scenarios, I think it's pretty decent. The only situation where I think this really makes a big change is if you're playing like Diana reroll from like Priz ticket or something, and then there's a bit of a buff to that, which I think is fine. I don't think that was ever that strong. Combat start shield duration upped. I think that's also really good. What happens a lot is when you get this combat start shield, you're usually getting a really big shield, and then that shield is wasted because you're not getting this kind of like, every few seconds refresh shield or every cast refresh shield. You're just getting big shield at the start. That just ends up being wasted because like, you're not using this giant shield. So upping the duration, I think that's very good. And then Meeple, 7 gold per 2 cost clone, 5 down to 3. So this is a bit of a nerf to the Gnar printer comp. I think they're also nerfing Gnar himself. So I think a double hit for that comp. We'll see what the rest of the patch looks like. I think that's... Let's look at the Gnar change, but I think this overall is fine. It's a lot of gold that you get for those prints. All right, Nova 5 bonuses. I'm loving this. Kate buff, Kindred, and Akali buffs. I think Nova 5, it's actually kind of close to there. As you can kind of see with a change like this, like it's actually not that far from being solid. I'm just centering this because it makes me feel better, but it does need a little bit of a push, and I think this is a great push to get there. I mean, a decent buff to Akali's ability here makes me feel a little bit better about like Akali reroll type stuff. Like oftentimes you're not reaching 5 Nova in those builds. Caitlyn, Caitlyn worth the wait, Caitlyn 5 Nova type stuff from that, or like Aatrox hero augment stuff like that. I think these are good changes overall. Shepherd 5, so they're buffing up the damage and buffing up the health multiplier. This is really, I think, to kind of like rectify some of their changes last patch where I feel like they really over nerfed 5 Shepherd for no reason. So this, I still don't think this really does that much. It's still like a net nerf because they nerfed the AP that you're getting from it. They nerfed the shield that it gets, and buffing up the damage. I mean, sure, it's whatever, but damage is not what you're really looking to get from this, the Shepherd. So I think this is fine. I kind of wish they would have just reverted the other change, but I still think, I mean, we'll see. I think there's also some buffs to LeBlanc, so I think that comp will be pretty solid after these changes. And 7 Shepherd buffs up here, which I think is completely good. I mean, 7 Shepherd, it's solid, but not, as good as it should be for the fact that you need a spat plus a 5 cost. So I think this is a very good change. 1 cost. Some TF buffs, baby. I mean, this guy got over nerfed during the 1 cost reroll dominance, and then, didn't exist for the entire set up until this point, really. Outside of stuff like early learnings, no scout, no pivots, it's been a very niche reroll comp, and so I think this is absolutely necessary. A pretty decent buff, right, on, 3-star. I mean, it's pretty good on this buff, 30 on 430. So what is that, like 6% buff or something like that? And then, buffs to both the min and the max here. So I think this is a pretty solid buff. puts the comp into a good spot. The only thing I will say is Talon is a piece of garbage these days, and I kind of wish they would have rebuffed Talon up a little bit, because a lot of the Stargazer reroll type lines, you can't really itemize Talon anymore. It's, if you look at the statistics, stuff like Serpent in this reroll line is really, really rough because of the fact that Talon is just so hard over nerfed, and this doesn't really fix that issue. It still means that the best Stargazer effects for this line are going to be stuff like Medallion, where you just get to invest in a TF, and stuff like Caitlyn. So I wish they had buffed up Talon a little bit, but I think this is at least in the right direction. Gnar, okay, it's only a 2 base AD nerf. Okay, so I think that's fine. I think this line, when it can find the right spot, can definitely succeed. I think after these changes, it will still succeed in those spots, but it is just going to cap out a little bit lower. It's very first or eighth. If you have seen this line, you either reach the Gnar 3 and a lot of gold and you push 9 and you cap really, really high and boom, you like win the game, or you don't hit any of that stuff and you go eighth. And will this change that feature of the comp? No, it's still gonna be first or eighth. It's just gonna be, you know, a little bit lower first rate and a little bit higher eighth rate, which I think is fine. Mordekaiser buffing up his shield again. They buffed this guy up, I think it was last patch or the patch before. They're really just trying to get this guy to be a real tank. This is, I just played like a Meepsy hero augment game, and Mordekaiser is your main tank in that line, so that's a buff up to that line a little bit. And I mean, I think it's necessary. I think this guy's a pretty mediocre main tank, so I'm down to see some buffs up to him. Victor buffs, chef's kiss, absolutely necessary. They're going very, very light here, just 30. I mean, the 3-star buff's okay, I guess, but yeah, I mean, the 10 damage at 2 stars is basically nothing, but they want this to be a viable reroll line. I do think MF Victor reroll, especially when you do have the psionic item, the red one, target lock, I think is actually quite solid, because MF can just like hit the entire board and proc target lock. I think this should bring that line actually back to being quite reasonable. I think the line was like okay last patch, and this is just a straight up buff to it. So I'd actually be excited to play that on the new patch. 4 cost changes. These are all beautiful. Karma is just not really doing it. Same thing for LeBlanc. She's not really doing it. And there's actually some A patch changes as well, which I'll get to at the end of this, that I think buff up LeBlanc even further, which I think is absolutely necessary. These changes I think are absolutely in the right direction. Quantity-wise, are they enough to make the lines insane? I don't know about that, but I want them to be in a reasonable spot, and I think this definitely gets them in the right direction. And I don't think they need too much. I think the A patch changes are actually enough to get this to be a viable line again. Similarly, this Morgana unit, she needed a lot of help. She just was not the best tank. We've seen more and more people tank her, and I think she's getting there, just as more and more people have been like, okay, well, sometimes I have to tank Morgana, I'm gonna go for it. And I think this change actually puts her into a quite good spot, so I'm very excited to tank Morgana after these changes as well. So overall, I like the changes a lot to units. It's really a small change to Shen. I don't know why it says the champ's 1 cost, but he always gains the spell's attack speed bonus after casting, even if the spell doesn't hit him, and then his attack speed buff no longer decays when buffing Shen. It's a very, very small change, honestly, which I don't think really does anything, but I don't mind it. You know, I don't think it's going to make any difference, honestly. Augment changes. So Band of Thieves 2, really been a pretty mediocre augment. You basically don't click this almost at all, and so a pretty big buff to it, 2 turns faster. Same thing with Band of Thieves 2 Plus, where it's getting +1 turn faster. I think these are really, really good changes. They're really just trying to get some of the dead augments out of the game, which I absolutely love. This is also a cool change to Best Friends. Now it gives you armor and MR. It always was a kind of fun little mini game, scouting the lobby and seeing like, okay, how much armor is in this, how much physical damage is in this lobby, can I take Best Friends? But it's not really great design for an augment, so I like this change a lot. Birthday Reunion, this is a big change. Now it only grants 3 gold when you grab it initially, and then your 2-star 2 cost is granted at level 5 instead. This is a pretty huge nerf to this augment. I feel like I will be a lot less excited to take this augment outside of the situations where I feel like I can go 5 very, very quickly and play for tempo, you know, some kind of like econ portal. But this is a pretty big nerf to this augment. The stats must have looked amazing on this augment to justify this nerf, but I imagine I will click this augment very little after this change, just because 5 is pretty far, right? You can either super aggro to level 5 and kill your econ, or you can wait to hit level 5, you know, midway through the stage, at which point you're not really getting the win streak that you were getting before out of Birthday Reunion. So I think this is a big nerf to it. Obviously, it is +3 gold at the end of the day, but the downside, I think, is a lot higher than that small upside. Blood Offering here, I think this is a solid change to this this one. I mean, this is another one that I don't know that this change really makes you like want to take it. It's one of those augments where like if you're in the spot where you have, you know, like the Briar 2 and stuff like that, you can actually consider it. And on in all other cases, you can't consider it. But I think you'll at least consider it a bit higher in those spots, which I like a lot, because it's not that good. Bodyguard training buff. I mean, they nerfed this augment in PvE and then never buffed it up for some reason. So very, very good change here. And Build a Bud buff, absolutely good. Pike hero augment buff, great. I think I almost never see people take this. Critical success disabled, I think very, very good. You were almost never proccing this. Deadlier caps. Granting that Rabadon's 1 mana gen, I think is solid. I'm going to feel pretty good about taking this with like a strong AP opener now, because, you know, you have the death cap, you have the mana gen. I think this actually makes a lot of sense. Like it should be quite good now. Early learnings, they obviously overbuffed this one up to 8, was just absolutely insane. 5, I think, is a good sweet spot there where it should be solid but not super, super broken. So I love this. Here's a big change here. Expedition, taking 5 gold off it, so it only gives 15 gold on cash out, but now you can only 1 person per lobby can get it. So I assume this is the same mechanic as like hero augments, where if 1 person sees it, the other people can't see it. I think you're still going to click this a lot. I think this augment is still really, really broken when you are playing for any comp that can really use the Radiance well. And honestly, we've seen more and more people play everything from it. I've seen people play Corki, Master Yi, obviously Mighty Mech, stuff like that. I've seen people play Reroll. We had the Teemo Reroll. Like, I feel like this has been played in almost every single comp out there, which is crazy because most comps in the game can do well with the Radiant item. And I think they're still going to do that with -5 gold. And I was going to say something kind of controversial. I feel like low-key, it makes it even more swingy because obviously like 1 person per lobby is going to get this, and then they're just going to be the person with Expedition. It does not mess up with lobby tempo in the weird way that old Expedition would, where like, you know, 3 people in lobby would take Expedition, and then all those people are like lose streaking early, but then they like spike really, really hard, and then it does weird things to lobby tempo. So I guess it's not as warping in that way, but I mean, it's a fun augment. I know they don't want to disable it, and I mean, I agree. I would feel bad if they disabled it, but honestly, I think I would have felt better if they just nerfed this gold number a bit harder, right? Down to even like 10 gold, something like that. Or you can't buff up the Expedition to be higher than 33, because obviously it's Expedition 33, but like low-key, what if they made it Expedition 35? I mean, it would be kind of funny, but I guess they wanted to make this change, which I don't love, but it's not the end of the world. Forged in Strength, HP threshold dropped again. Wasn't it at 40 originally? I think it was at 40, and then it dropped to 35, and now it's at 30. Pretty scary. I still think this augment will be fantastic. Doesn't actually change things that much, but I think this is a good step in the right direction. This augment was way too good. Forward thinking, they actually, I believe this is one of the ones that got changed in the B patch, so we'll look at that once we go B patch. Going long buff, I think this is absolutely necessary. I think they over-nerfed this one too hard. Golden Gamble buffs, I think, honestly, these are fine in my head. I guess the statistics say they're bad. I'm kind of surprised. I mean, it's a tiny buff, 1 gold on each of them, so I don't think it's really that much of a diff. Heat Death, we just did the Heat Death VOD review, and it's getting another buff, and it's actually, wow, that's a pretty huge buff at 3-star. That's over a 10% buff at 3-star. Oh my god. Okay. I mean, it's just the active damage, so it's not, you know, the full, but I mean, that's a pretty big buff. Okay, I don't think it's gonna be broken after this, but I think it's gonna move up a tier. If it was like, you know, C tier, now it's B tier. So this looks pretty solid. High voltage buff. Yeah, people aren't excited to take this augment in general. I think this is totally fine, and I don't think changes that much. Late game specialist, little bit of a nerf, and also no longer exclusive with level up because it wasn't exclusive with any of the other econ augments. I think this is totally fine, and it does need a nerf, right? This augment is just insane, honestly. Like 27 gold on a silver augment. Yes, obviously you are even 27 gold is still really, really good, but 30 gold is just insane. And yeah, obviously you're playing with a big downside, but when you can proc it, that's the only time you take it. And in those situations, it's really, really good. Living Forge nerf, absolutely necessary. This augment's completely broken. Loot Singularity, this is a big change. So they removed the big cash outs here. I can pull up for you guys what this actually looks like right now. So they're removing all of these cash outs at the end here. The full item anvil, the gold, the Darkstar emblem, the random radiant. So you're just going up to Jin at 444, and there's just going to be a 777 cash out after this. And oh, sorry, that's the A patch changes. And then 777 cash out gives you Ari's Aura, Varus Obsession, or Soraka's Miracle, plus 3 removers. Or is this all of these, actually? I mean, it's 777. It's might... I'm not actually clear if this is plus or... I guess it's one of these 3. Probably. In any case, this is a very, very hard cash out to get to in general, and they're also changing some of the cash outs where you get your component faster and then get a little bit of extra stuff out of these. I think this is pretty solid overall changes to this augment, and this is an interesting. I'll need clarification on what this actually means here. Let me go check actually if he said in the video. Okay, it does give all of them. He said it's going to give you 3 artifacts. So that's pretty cool. That's a pretty cool cash out once you reach there. It's kind of insane. But obviously 777 is very hard to get to. Lucky Loves, 2 inversion gains 4 gold. Beautiful. I think this augment's trash. And will it be better after this change? I mean, 4 gold something. I feel like you have to actually buff it up even further. Maybe like 6 gold. Maybe 6 gold makes you feel a little bit better. But definitely a step in the right direction here. Pilfer. Buff, need less gold to farm TG. Great. I think this augment kind of sucks. And I think at 19, I'll feel a little bit better about taking it. I think this is a good number. I would be partial about it going even lower. Recombob grants 3 rolls. I mean, that's fun. I don't mind this at all. Obviously, this is like a very, very niche augment. In some situations, it's amazing. In other situations, it's trash. So I think this is fine. Reinforcement buff. This is another augment that I think they hit, what, like end of last set or something like that? And the fact that it only gave 5 gold for this entire set, I feel like it's just absolutely crazy. I feel like they nerfed it because of how good it was with unlocks, and obviously no unlocks in this set, so I think this needed to be buffed up a long time ago. 7's an okay number. I wouldn't even mind them going up a little bit higher than this, but overall it's fine. Restart mission. Oh, this is interesting. So it's mutually exclusive from Expedition Clearmind AFK. What? Let me go check the. Okay, I don't understand this change. You can still get it when you take other lost, like you could take like Calc Lost into this, right? I don't understand why these 3 augments specific. I mean, obviously these are all like Lost Streak augments is the idea, but I mean, Patient Study, Calc Lost, like all these other Lost Streak augments are not included in this, so I don't actually understand this change. I mean, I think it's fine. I think it probably should be mutually exclusive from these, and these are probably the ones that were most outliers in the data. But this is a strange change to me. I don't completely get it. I think, and if you have to do this, right, it usually means that the augment shouldn't be in the game. I would say, usually. And I think a lot of players have said that this augment is just like, probably shouldn't be in the game. It's just so insane when you do get the chance to take it. I do think there's actually another, there's an A patch change to restart mission as well. Retribution, I think this one's bugged. I think this one's getting removed, so I don't care about this. Gragas nerfs, I'm not clicking this augment after these nerfs. I am already like kind of lower on this augment in general. I think it actually has fallen back to earth. I think it's like totally like balanced around the fact that if you hit sympathetic, it's completely like it's quite good. And if you don't hit sympathetic, it's absolute trash. And this is just going to belabor that point further. You're still only going to take it from sympathetic, except it's just going to be even worse then. So I feel like I will never be clicking this after these changes unless you have the God Spot sympathetic plus like a JG Slam or something like that. Shimmer Scale Essence, a nerf again. I think this is good. They nerfed Mogul's last patch, but it still needs a nerf, so I think this is good. Time Stream. I still don't think you're going to click this augment, but it is nice that it gives all your allies 100 HP. I'm pretty sure it's still quite difficult to click just because I think it's a fundamentally flawed augment because you want to play Cho as reroll, but it doesn't buff Cho'Gath. So what are we doing here? I don't really understand the idea. Treasure Hunt, slight a nerf to this. This should be a red number. It's a little bit more gold per chest, but the 5th treasure chest is now always an artifact anvil, which is pretty cool. So this is overall a nerf to this. I think this is a good nerf to this augment. It's just broken and people are clicking it all the time, but it's still going to be quite good in any kind of reroll line. Too tanky. They're kind of taking this augment out back again. I think they're actually hitting this in A patch as well. Am I crazy? Yes. Oh, no. These are the changes that are in the A patch. It's a pretty big nerf. I'm pretty sure this is still going to be fine in these Samira reroll lines and just untakeable in every single line besides that. And I mean that's just how too tanky is. Obviously it's a pretty big nerf, but I think you will still, if you have a spot for it, click this and play it into Samira. Earth's Gambit, a little bit of a nerf here. Yeah, I guess this is fine. Wise spending nerf. Is this? Wait, let me check actually. Yeah, so this is just straight up like because the same version appears at 2-1 that appears at 3-2. So it's the same buff / nerf to both. I think, in my opinion, there needs to be almost like a wise spending and a wise spending plus, just because like in general, getting this augment at 3-2, then you've been able to take like a regular augment. You can play for this. It just feels so much better. So I feel like these augments should just be split out, because I imagine this is a nerf to hit it at 3-2 and just kind of a, you don't care about the fact that I feel like this augment is quite difficult to click on 2-1. Every time I've taken this augment on 2-1, it's felt horrible. So yeah, that's all to say about that. I kind of wish they'd split these augments out a little bit. And then a couple of bugs. Okay. And then let me go into the A patch changes. All right, so forward thinking, they're still decreasing the rounds that it takes, but they're decreasing the gold a little bit. It means that you get to cash out on 4-1, which is a really big buff. I think this is overall quite a solid buff to this, which is fine. Restart mission, also a nerf on the number of 2-star 2 costs you get. Very, very good. Retribution was bugged, taken out. We talked about 2 tanky already. Mecha, they actually changed. This was bugged to be 25, 45, 35 AD and AP. This number was just not supposed to be it, but it's weird that the patch notes almost act like this was intentional, but whatever. Now it is slightly nerfed at 4 mecha, and then at 6 mecha, there's no longer a bugged reason to not play 6 mecha. I think this is a fine change. I think the line's pretty solid. Lulu, so they're buffing her altar and serpent spell damage. I think this is really good. I think they missed the boar though. The boar is statistically one of the worst Lulu ones. I've played it multiple times and it's always felt horrible to me. Not sure why boar Lulu isn't getting a little bit of a buff here as well, but I think this is a change into the right direction. Makes Lulu a lot less conditional and hitting like the perfect setup here. This A-Soul change, I think, also kind of like going hand in hand with this mecha change. If we're going to nerf mecha a little bit, they are going to buff up his non-mech spell damage a little bit. You know, you can easily play like 3 mecha. I mean, once you're playing 4 mecha, so this is just a straight up buff to non-mech A-Soul, which I think is good. I think this guy underperforms a little bit. And then here are the LeBlanc changes that we were talking about. LeBlanc's sigil damage buffed and her passive damage buffed. Also, Nami's being buffed up. Wowza. So they're really trying to make AP Flex good. From all the scrims that I've seen, which is some, I think this is a good change. I think AP Flex is still not crazy good. Yi buff, this is just on his spell damage here. So yeah, so this is that projection damage here at the bottom here. So not the biggest change in the world, but a small buff to him. I don't think he really needs it. I think this line is quite solid already, but I guess if they're buffing everything else up, they can buff Yi up a little bit. It's actually strange though. In my estimation, Yi's a better AD comp than Corki, so I'm not really sure why Yi is receiving a buff, all this AP stuff's receiving a buff, and then Corki's not receiving any kind of compensation. I'd rather be playing Yi than Corki most of the time now, and I think this just creates an even bigger delta there, which I don't really understand. Okay, and that is the patch. So what do you guys think about the changes? Let me know in the comments down below. I think, honestly, a lot of good changes. A few things that are, like, on the margin I would do slightly different, but overall, I think very good. Opens up some much cooler lines. Hopefully some AP Flex stuff. Hopefully some Fixer stuff. Hopefully makes the Gnar stuff less dominant. Hopefully makes, sorry for flashbanging you a million times there. Hopefully makes TF a little bit better and better augment balance. So I think this is going to be really good. I will have a VOD for you guys out tomorrow on the new patch, probably from one of the scrims or maybe just an early game on the patch. So hope you guys enjoyed this video. As always, if you did, please like the video. Helps out a ton. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Comment down below, what do you think about these changes? Come to my Twitch channel. I will be live there a little bit later on Wednesday, I believe. I think I have a prior or something going on there, which is really cool, which we will be able to talk about maybe tomorrow, very soon. We'll be able to talk about it, so I can't wait. But got that. So I might stream a little bit later on Wednesday, and then also check out my Metafight down below for any of your coaching needs. If you want to hit your end of set coaching goals, climbing goals, why would you? I mean, maybe I have a coaching goal, a goal of like, I want to get this many sessions so that I can get good. I mean, low-key, not a bad thing to have. All right, I will see you guys later. Thanks for watching as always. Bye-bye.